I realised that it's a skill that is misunderstood.
Yep.
And probably underappreciated, to be fair. Most people I don't think they realise how much work goes into a scissor, or anyway, into our scissors, I think. It's one of the things that we've really focused on, and we have less than 1% return rates.
Welcome to It's So Much More Than Hair. I have got with me one of Australia's most famous and our most recognised and our most chosen scissor smiths with us, Pete Walstab from
Hello.
Excellent Edges. Welcome, Pete. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm really good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. That's a nice little introduction there. You also forgot to say brightest. I feel like I could be in construction today wearing a safety vest. I've just looked at the screen and seen how bright I am. But
no, you look you're very much like reflecting the personality that you are, Pete. Very bright.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like to be seen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay. So I just want to throw some questions at you.
Yeah, cool.
How did it all begin for you, Pete? Tell us.
Okay, so I finished school. I was one of the ones that I actually finished my VCE. We're going back many years ago. Year 12, because my dad wanted me to go straight to university in 89.
Yeah.
My mum was a hairdresser, and he was like, as long as you don't become a hairdresser, I'll be happy. And before I know it, I was tried to go to uni, and part-time I was helping out my sister's partner at the time in a salon, and just did reception, sweeping up coffees and stuff, and I fell in love with it. Dropped straight out of uni. I was doing marketing at uni. I lasted a whole 2 months and started hair. So I did a bit of time there. I went and worked at FB for 7 years, and then I left and went to Rock, did another 7 years there. Opened up my salon. It's called The Lab. It was in South Yarra with a friend of mine, Walter, and we did 7 years of that. And then I decided I hated my life, and what was I doing cutting hair? I can't do this forever. My body's sore, my mind's sore, and I left. And I left the industry, and I took 6 months off, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? And so I went for a job as a colour rep for L'Oreal. I went through a whole process of interviews with them. Kind of got through the end of that and got a gig there. The stupid thing about it was I'd never coloured hair in my life. I'd come from a haircutting only background, and I had a good mouth on me. So I could talk it, and I walked into a shop and realised that I absolutely hate this job as well. I had the Vic manager with me on the first day, and I walked back out of the car. I said, I can't do this. It's like, what do you want to do? I said, I'm just not doing this, and got on a train. Only because I was in her car, so I got on a train, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Rang my wife, and she's like, you like cutting hair? Why don't you talk to that scissor company? And so I rang Tim, and he said, come out and have a chat with me. So I went out and had a chat. This was on the same day. Went and had a chat. Saw him at about 3 o'clock, and by 4 o'clock I was already working and started the next day.
That was incredible.
That was 17 years ago now. So, and just fell in love with it. I've always loved scissors, and so it was kind of like I walked in there, I had a chat with him, saw it, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. I found exactly where I want to be and what I want to do, and it just mapped out from there.
I do remember, so Tim, it was Excellent Edges then as well?
Yeah, I couldn't change the name, even though I think the name's a little bit shitty, like Excellent Edges. I think I could have come up with a better name, but at the end of the day, it's kind of what it is. So,
But in those days too, that was actually quite a cutting edge name, really. It was sort of
I
like,
guess, yeah. I'm just glad they didn't put Z's on the end of it or something like that. It was a whole 80s, 90s thing, Edges
yeah.
with a Z. I was just, yeah, thank God we're out. Did that. I started doing there. What was I? I was their education and marketing coordinator.
Well,
Which
your
is
business degree would have helped a little bit there. A little bit, maybe, or maybe the networking at the uni parties.
Yeah, all 3 months of it. No, it was a good thing. So I started doing their education and marketing stuff, and look, I loved the company, and I saw it as an awesome opportunity because I think their branding was kind of terrible at the time, but their product was great, and it's always first and foremost, it's always about our product. So, and that's one thing that when I did take over, was never going to change. So when Tim left, I think that was 7 years ago last week, I think. So I was a partner in it for a while, and then I bought it about 7 years ago. So from that point, I've been sole owner, and I guess like we haven't changed a lot. Like our product is we're still highly focused on delivering a great product, but it's more around our branding is a lot more true to us, I think now, or to me. It's a little bit crazy. It's you might have seen our new logo, which is the drawing of the scissor, which
I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that a few years ago, Pete. The dream.
And people are like, you can't do that, and it's just like, wow. When someone says you can't do that to me,
you can.
It's like, oh, it feels like a dare.
Yeah, you can in our industry.
Yeah, you can get away. You can be a little bit cheeky with it as long as you're not smutty or anything like that. I think this industry is, if you've got personality and humour is the sole directive for it, people are pretty open to having a bit of a laugh. We don't take ourselves that seriously, thank God. So.
Nah, definitely. Actually, having said that, I remember a student submitting to me a three-dimensional picture of the hair, like a hair shaft. That was very interesting. So could compliment your new logo. So
okay, so we have a scissor and a hair shaft.
Yeah. So what did you learn about scissors when you took the job on?
I think one of the first things I did learn is just how much work goes into it. Like I always think, 2 bits of metal, bolt in the middle, they cross over. And I think the first time when I went in there was when I bought a pair of scissors and I wasn't happy with them. I bought a ridiculously good pair of scissors thinking they'd do absolutely everything for me. And I could slice, blunt, cut everything with it. And it turned out I couldn't because they're all different edge angles. So when I started learning that there's a different types of scissors for different things, and so he changed the set on them for me, which is the curvature. So it'll either push less or push more, and he did that by hitting it with a hammer. Ooh. And I'm literally like, I've just dropped $1,500 on this scissor, and I had no money at the time, and I'm watching some crazy clown smash my scissor with a hammer, and I was like, I just didn't realize all the biomechanics that go into making it work.
Yeah.
And then all these little tweaks that can change it. So for me, it's kind of what I loved, because my thinking was I was going to become a bladesmith, and I thought I'll just be good at this because I'm good with my hand. Turns out I'm shithouse at bladesmithing. I'm terrible at it. I can't do it as much as I want to, and I guess that's something to look forward to in the future for me as I slowly wind down, as I'll get into the workshop a bit more. But it was something that it actually, just like hairdressing, just like anything that you go out to achieve, it takes years of practice. And you don't become a great hairdresser for quite a while, while you're doing it. And it's exactly the same with bladesmithing. We've gone through heaps of bladesmiths who we thought would be great, and it turns out that the 2 greatest bladesmiths that I've got at the minute are Jamie and Darcy at our workshop, and one of them did a little bit of barbering, but also did did about everything, like metal fabrication, spray painting, body work, panel work, and stuff. And the other guy was a jeweler doing fine metal object design. So you can come from anywhere, but you've just got to have a good hand and eye. And so I think for me, I realised that it's a skill that is misunderstood.
Yep.
And probably underappreciated, to be fair. Most people I don't think they realise how much work goes into a scissor, or anyway, into our scissors, I think. It's one of the things that we've really focused on, and we have less than 1% return rates, and it's because of how much work we do. Anyone can start up a scissor company tomorrow. All they do is go to China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Pakistan. They can buy scissors for anywhere from $1 to $500. They arrived in a box, and then they literally just sell it to the person with their margin on it.
Yeah.
And it's something that we've never ever done. We've never sold a scissor that hasn't been through our processes.
Yeah.
So we buy our blanks and forgings and stuff, and then they come to Australia and they're all hand finished here.
Yeah.
We tweak them to every way we want to do it. And I think essentially we're probably the only company in Australia that I know of that is doing that with every single scissor. So that kind of what separates us, I guess. And that's, the one thing I have learned is, I guess how much you put into something is what you get out of it. And I can see how much work they put into the scissors. So that's the benefit for hairdressers.
Yeah. There's a couple of things out of that. Like what you said lastly, it's interesting being an educator. I see a lot of scissors come into the classroom, and what I recognise is same scissor, different brand on them. Which is that's what you said before.
100%.
And even just same performance as well. I'll pick them up, have a go. They cut exactly the same as the one brand to the other. Whereas I know with you, and I will say to a student, like, ring up Pete from Excellent Edges and have a chat to him, because he'll set you up, or they will set you up with a kit that will get you through the next couple of years of your career, like, as well as the classroom. So I remember you saying to me a few years ago, like, even with like beginner scissors, it's not worth them buying that cheap pair, because they learn bad cutting skills. And they don't cut enough mannequin heads to actually wreck a pair of scissors in comparison to how many haircuts they do. So that was one thing. And then we'll chat. Do you want to chat about that, or what was that?
It's 100% true. Like it's you develop really terrible habits when you have terrible scissors, and those habits you take on for life.
Yeah.
Smoking, drinking, all of that. Whatever good habit and bad habit you develop, it's something that you think. Like, it's funny because a scissor will push. So people naturally will pull back.
Yes.
And they pull back to counteract the push, which is great. It's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
But if you had a scissor that didn't push, would you need to do that? No. But it's funny then when you turn around and start point cutting, the natural reaction is all of a sudden you've got something sharp.
Yes.
And you're pulling back and doing it again. So you're risking cutting your fingers. And it's purely out of the habit of this transferring to that.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, for me, if you start it, let the scissors do the work. Don't let your hand do it, because, your hands, the scissors are expensive, but your hand's priceless. And, and so you start doing stuff where you have to make your hand work for the scissor. You're going to end up with terrible hands in the end, and carpal tunnel, all that sort of stuff, the bad stuff that you just don't want for your career.
That's right. The other thing too is you were talking about the bladesmiths again. Like, it was a few years ago, and we know that there's a lot of those around now offering to sharpen our scissors. And I did hear a few years ago there were kind of only 3 really good bladesmiths in Australia, and you had 2 of them. Can you elaborate on that, or we do get
look, I can.
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky. We've got some epic ones. And look, there are a couple of good ones out there. It's just, I guess, for the majority of it, like, it is. Our bladesmiths are also lucky because they're in an environment they've got great tools. They're not on the road. They don't have to try and do this out of the back of a car, which makes it harder because you don't have all the proper machinery for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that are doing this are small one-man operations and stuff like that, which, will go into a salon and we'll plug in this little rapid edge machine or whatever it is that literally grinds years and years of life away from scissors. And they're also okay with that because, funny enough, they also have scissors to buy
Yeah, to replace them.
when they've churned them out. So, you might get a mobile sharpener, you might get 5 sharpens out of it.
Yeah.
Before you start losing length off the tip because they're shaving away so much life. We find that we can get 15 to 20 from our sharpens before any length comes off. So
yeah,
15 years, 15 sharpens, that's, equates to 15 years if you're looking after your scissor. So.
Yeah. I made a fatal mistake of someone walking in going, yeah, I'll sharpen your scissors, and I gave them 2 new pairs, or one pair of, ones that I was using and another new pair that I'd bought from you years ago, and came back and both were just completely wrecked. I was actually embarrassed. I had to send them back to you to get them fixed, and they came back shorter because you had to do that.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's convenience. It's convenience. It's hard sometimes when someone walks into your salon, you're working, and you're like, oh, I should get my scissors sharpened, and all some magical person appears who's like, hey, I can just do them on the spot for you. You're like, great. It's kind of like, I guess if I was in a bar and someone walked up to me with a drink, I'm probably going to drink it rather than standing in line at the bar. So, it's just the convenience factor of it. You do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
So, so I know back to like where you sourced your scissors from and things like that. Like, can you chat about that? I know you go far and wide to Japan
So we source all of our steel ourselves. So we use one company, Yamamura, essentially for that. We get all of our steel from them, and then we manufacture. All the dirty work gets done in 3 countries. So we deal with Japan, with Korea, and with China. And it's purely based on price point and the steel type. So obviously the better quality of steel is more expensive, and we tend to send all of that to Japan. Our mid-range steels, our 440Cs and stuff like that, all get done in Korea. And then our base metals, like our 440B and stuff like that, gets done in China. So, and it's literally one price point, and so for steel and for labour. And you can buy. The problem with it is you can go to any company. There's a whole city. There's whole cities in China where there's maybe 15 or 20 different companies that all work in the same little area, and you could go around there and you could negotiate and sell and bargain really hard. And I've seen scissors coming out for as little as $2 and $3, and $4, and they always say yes. But the problem is that all they're thinking is, okay, what do we substitute here? Let's use a really bad steel. Let's use really bad components. Let's use terrible center screws. Let's use the cheapest of all of this. And you get a rubber scissor at the end. And, someone selling them, like myself, would be on the other end saying, oh, look at this. I've managed to get this scissor that cheap that my margins are going to be fantastic. And it's like, well, yeah, but your margins might be fantastic, but your reputation's shot. So you really have to walk a fine line of, I don't think I've ever bargained on a price. Within the price is the price. But for me, it's like, okay, I want this component. I need that center screw. I want polyurethane washer, this center bump stop, bang, 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 bang. And what they do is they make it to a generic point for me. I tell them nothing about what we do.
Yeah.
It's none of their business. It's also because I don't want them to know what our business is, because I don't really want them making scissors how we do for their other customers, because they're realists here. They're in it for quantity.
Yeah.
They want numbers. So if they can go to other companies and say, hey, we make scissors for Excellent as well, we make them for this company, people are cool. I'll just buy them off you. And, so for us, it's a matter of, we source out that steel, we give it to them, They make the scissors. It comes back to us. We have hardness testers and stuff like that within our factory. So every time we get a batch, we check them against what our steel was when we gave it to them. We check the hardness again, and that way, then it's a pretty fail-safe way of knowing that what we gave them is what we've got back.
Yeah.
Because it happens a lot. Like, people will use rubbish steel because it's so much cheaper. That's where the cost is. It's kind of, I guess, the difference between walking into a supermarket and buying a bulk chop as opposed to a free range lamb. Like, it's so a lot of that ingredient at the start is a big cost, and if you can control that, you know that you're going to get something good at the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, like, kudos to you to be doing that for our industry, to be firstly a hairdresser coming from our industry, and knowing the importance of actually having a good tool to use, because it really is our, brushes, combs, whatever, but it's our primary tool. Can't do anything without it. So, and as there's companies that see the ka-ching and go, oh, hairdressers. And then there's you, that actually go out and do that, and source the best and do it that way. And, and you do have to play your cards close to your chest when you do it so well like that, because, because that's what gives you that edge, isn't it? And that quality.
An excellent edge.
Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but anyway. So, like, how many pairs of scissors does a hairdresser need? How long's a piece of string?
Well, it's a really good one, because it's like, okay, how many makeup brushes does a makeup artist need?
Yeah.
And you see when they unroll that thing and they have a fan, this brush, that brush, they have 1,000 of them. And this is where this whole concept came from for me, looking at, like, we had a makeup artist who used to come into our salon on the weekend for weddings, and she used to unroll this kit and of all these brushes, and I'd be like, oh, what a wanker. You couldn't possibly need all these brushes. And she's like, oh, I do. It's all for different styles, techniques that makes it faster and more efficient. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Also, I like trying new stuff as well. But I mean, you think about brushes, like the makeup's a different ballgame. So let's bring it back to hairdressing. How many brushes do we have in your kit? You have a round brush, you have a paddle brush, you have a Denman. Why do we have all these different brushes? And it's like, well, because we're trying to manipulate hair to move in a certain way or act and fall a certain way. And it's exactly the same translation. I love new stuff. Like, I look at hair irons and I look at all this stuff. I'd never want to get into any of those markets, but I just love how people will market it, one, but what they can think of and do. Like, it's down to simple things like a comb. We've got a comb now. It's called a P-Fizz comb, and it literally has a little arc in the middle of it. And they couldn't really explain to me why, but it created better tension. And it's sort of like, well, it just follows the head shape. So you pick it up and all the hair's tensioned evenly the whole way. So rather than a normal comb. And I sit there and I go, damn, why didn't I think of that? Like, and that really excites me.
Yeah.
Like, when I see stuff like that. And I'm like, brilliant. Hats off to you. Awesome for thinking of stuff like that. Because that's probably one of my greatest loves and we do that with scissors. It's like, what can we do to this to make it do that? To make someone's job hairdressing more fun, more creative, and faster.
Yeah.
And I guess, that's the sort of stuff that I love seeing and love doing. Even like we've got these round brushes now that when you put the blow dryer on them, they get hot. The barrel inside turns red. The color changes. And so you know that the whole barrel's all even and hot, because so often people blow dry. And it's so funny because I think I'm a great blow dryer. I don't do the twisties, but I do the old school bouncy blows. And I've got the brush on there and the heat, and I'm like, far out. I'm literally only heating one side of my brush. So when I roll it down and sit it, there's heat only on one side.
Yeah.
So I'm in there making sure that the whole brush is red now, wound down and then sat in, and then I can watch it. And once it turns back to its original black color, I know it's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I have those brushes. I have
Oh
them.
yeah,
I love them.
yeah, they're
I
pretty
love them.
cool.
And then
They're
they
pretty
always
cool to
get
wear. For...
stolen around the salon. I find them in other people's trolleys.
yeah, 100% you do.
They're good. And because they're, you know, and I'm a bristle brush hairdresser too. So it's just that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So I've got these ones are a bristle bore with a little bit of nylon in there too, because
Yeah.
people are obsessed with that too. But I like those little round brushes that are just the little nylon twigs. I look at them and I'm like, oh, I can't use that. But where's the tension in it? And people are like,
Oh,
sometimes you don't need tension, Pete. I'm like, oh, okay. So for the last 3 months, I've been sitting there trying to use just a little wire brush and still
no.
get my head around why people would want it. But
I feel like, you know, well, someone said to me once that the ceramic brushes are just a roller with the stick on the end of it, which is what they are. Remember the old, you know,
yeah.
the setting rollers, which used to be metal with the bristle coming through. That's exactly what they are. So, you know, and they were revolutionary at the time when they came out. But at the end of the day, I love a bristle brush because I love brushing with, you know, shine, like finishing the hair off nice and shiny and bouncy and whatever, you know. But that's
you get shine, smoothness, and tension. Like
yes.
for me, it's a tension thing. Like I love that. Being
Well,
able to pull it and
I think we're from the days before the straightening irons. Maybe that
yeah,
was
it's 100%.
yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um Yeah, so say to start out, say for an apprentice starting out, you know, what would they need then for scissors?
Um, Look, for me, when you're starting, you just need a good all rounder. Which an all rounders are really it's a unicorn. It doesn't really exist. So I just buy a point cutter, something generic, 45 degrees.
Yeah,
It just has a straight clamshell edge on it. We'll give a little bit of push.
yeah,
So soft enough to do a bit of everything, but strong enough you can still cut a blunt line.
yeah,
And what I would be doing is if someone's saying, "Oh, this is pushing, this scissor's pushing a little bit," it's like, "Well, your section's too big.
yeah, yeah,
Bring your sections back down. Halve your section.
yeah,
Now tell me what it's like." So what it will teach them is rather than getting, and we used to do this, we were guilty of it as well. We used to make serrated edges. So they just whacked hair off, and and you could take triple the amount of sections and it still wouldn't push.
yeah,
But I think it actually created shortcuts that were kind of made people a little bit lazy with it. So for me, I just think that one scissor and one thinning and a texturizer or a thinning scissor.
yeah,
That's all you would need at the start. And then you start working your way into. I would probably look at a blunt cutter
yeah,
from there and possibly a slicer later on.
yeah,
But I mean, a lot of it I find is, I mean, I know when I grew up in the industry, and I came from FB background,
yeah,
which was one scissor. All like I guess it was like the Sassoons of Australia at the time. Small sections, part of the previous into the new, everything small, detailed, and precise.
yeah,
If I pulled a thinning scissor out in a shop there, I'd probably get shot, because that's just what it was back then. It was
yeah,
not everything's done in a certain way. And then I went to another shop which was completely opposite, and dry hair cutting, and you never cut hair wet, and you never picked up a section with your hand. It was all with a comb and a brush done freehand.
yeah,
So it's really hard to just say this is what every hairdresser should have. I can give you a complete kit, but also you might not use all of that because we're so driven by our salons that we work in, because our salon is our brand and our culture.
mm-hmm.
So, and I know when I grew up, and I think if you believe your brand and you believe your culture, so when you're coming from a salon that is into soft, bouncy looks, like you're never going to want a precise, is it? You're going to want a softer, bouncy thing, and that's the realm that you're in. So you buy to what your market needs.
Yeah.
So I guess a lot of it is rather than just buying kits, and we've got a few kits in our range, but I also think, you know what, a kit's just for someone lazy that just wants to purchase something, and you decide, there'll just be a little bit of everything in there and I'll be fine. No, I think as you're working with your salons, work out what you like within it, work out what you need, speak to someone, speak to me, speak to one of our reps, and be straight up, this is what I do, this is what I want to do. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. What should I buy now, and what should I buy in the future, and map it out so you've got a plan. Because so often people buy scissors and then a year later or 2 years later or whatever it is, they go out and buy another scissor, and most times they buy exactly the same scissor. It's like, why? Well, this one's a bit looser than the cut as well. Well, one, you didn't look after it. So two, you're just going to do exactly the same thing with this one. Why don't you actually change your behavior with the scissor? Take care of it. And then buy another scissor, so you're essentially opening up more aspects of how you cut hair.
Yeah.
And that way, then you're not in a throwaway society anymore. I mean, I've got one of my scissors in my kit. I've had since I was 25. So
Yeah.
it's 27 years. It's still in my kit. I'm going to Newcastle tomorrow. I'm doing education up there, and I'm still using that scissor. And I could have any scissor I want. Obviously, there I've got a whole wall of scissors that I have access to, but I choose this scissor because this has been a scissor that I bought at the start. It's one, special to me. Two, I've looked after.
Yeah.
And three, I know exactly what it will do because I know the scissor so well. So.
Yeah. So how do you look after them then? If
Ideally, all right, yeah, okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I use something. So if at the end of each day, let's just say it's the end of each day, then minimum. You either, if when you finish at the end of the night, the worst thing you can do is leave scissors overnight with steel's worst enemies. So steel's worst enemies is moisture, is water, obviously, is salt, the sweat from your hand, every single texturizing product that's in a shop, chemicals, any color products left on it. Funny enough, any acid that's left on it. Oh, why would there be acid in the salon? I don't know. Let's talk about having every amino acid or K8 or cutting treatments all of a sudden that are just everywhere at the minute, which I love. I think they're fantastic for the hair, but what they're terrible for is scissors. You leave that stuff on your scissor overnight, it starts eating away, and unfortunately, once you get corrosion or rust into your scissor, it is like cancer.
Yeah,
you cut it out. You can't just manage it. It's gone because it'll just keep going.
Yeah.
So essentially, I wipe it down. You can either I use it to clean it spray, but it's just isopropyl and alcohol. So you can spray that down, wait 20 seconds, it's all clean. Or methylated spirits, if you want an even cheaper version, go to Bunnings and buy surgical spirits or metho. Even better, go to the chemist and buy, do you know those preparation pads before you have an injection?
Yeah, the Medi wipes.
Buy the Medi wipes. Grab one of them, wipe your scissor down at the end of the day. Do that. Run the chamois along it so it keeps it actually sharp, and then put a drop of camellia oil on it. Camellia oil is a protectant. It's a sealant. It's scissor oil, which is, the Japanese have been using it for thousands of years. They use it on all their tools. It's better. It's a natural oil, not a synthetic oil.
Yeah.
Clipper oil is like probably the worst thing you can put on it. Essentially because it's machine oil. It attracts skunk rather than disperses it.
Yeah.
So putting that on there at the end of each night, what it does is, one, it seals it and protects it. But also what it does is during the day, it actually keeps hair out of the center screw because it's lubricated well. It slides out rather than collects underneath it. Machine oil will collect stuff underneath the center screw.
Right.
And then make sure your tension's right. So if you can hold it, lift it up a little bit, and it should only drop more than halfway. If you've got correct tension, if the scissors are loose at the base, the top's going to be bashing into each other. So you wear your edge. So it takes 1 minute at the end of the night per scissor, not even. Just quick little spray or wipe, oil, quick check the tension, put them away, and then they're perfect for the next day.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Good advice. I know. I know the Excellent Edges oil is different from, because it even just smells different from, so.
Yeah, it's just pure camellia. It doesn't smell different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Pete. You've given us some really good info today. Really good insight into, our core tool of our industry, which is, been really good to to hear and listen to. So
You are most welcome.
I just thought I'm going to just ask you some, like I said, some wacky questions.
Cool, perfect.
Yeah. So, what would be one of your most memorable moments in our industry? I'm sure that's probably a crazy question for you because you've probably got a ton of them.
Oh, there was a couple. I mean, for me, buying excellent lenses was a big one. One of the ones that I actually found really, really funny was I won a special recognition award, which was for giving to the hair industry. Like it was AHIA's Special Recognition Award. So for work I'd done for it, and I went up there. I didn't take any of my team. No, like you coming. I'm like, yeah, you bring your team. I'm like, nah. Stuff. I'm just going to go up by myself. I sat around with about 3 or 4 other guys, and we were having a ball. And it was the first awards that I'd ever been to that I didn't have to present any awards.
Yeah.
So my biggest fear is always when I go to those things and I start drinking and stuff, I'm going to get out there and make a bigger idiot of myself. And so I went to this one thinking, perfect. I only had one thing to do at the start. So I got up on stage, finished it all up, and then we started partying. And all of a sudden they started reeling out this special recognition, which was right towards the end of the night. So I'd had a few by this stage. And we were laughing because we thought it was someone on our table, Lee Cohen. We thought he was going to win it. He's like, I'm probably going to win this award. We're like, yeah, this would be funny.
Yeah.
And they started reeling through this person's career and what had happened and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, I worked 7 years in 3 places. And I was like, okay, oh, this sounds weird, and then all of a sudden started talking about scissors, and I'm like, oh, no, not me, please, don't be me, don't be me. Yeah, and so I won an award, so we're literally, and it was more funny because the guy next to me, Lee, he was convinced he was winning this award, because I'm like, please come, please bring your team, and it ended up being me taking the award, so, it was pretty funny, it was pretty hard speech to get through, I was a bit slurry, but, yeah, it was a good laugh.
You've actually won a few awards since then, though, haven't you? So,
I've snuck in a few. Yeah, that and business, a couple of business performance awards. But I mean, does this sound bad? But they don't mean jack shit. That's bad. I mean, did it change my business? No, I don't know if it did. It's a little signature or a little sign I get to put on my wall. Does it change anything? No, not really. It's a nice little pat on the back. And I guess if you're into it and you want it, great. But also on the flip side of it, don't hang your life on it. It's not the be all and end all, and it's not gonna change much. But if you think it's important to you, then it's important to do it.
But I think it's good for the team, to know that they're working in a business that's got, has got substance and even just vision. Like people like to work in an environment that they know that it's got, it's got direction, it's going somewhere. And that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I do love about them, there's one reason why we occasionally enter them is because when I write them, it's a day. Well, we do it in a day, but we do it as a team.
Yeah.
So we close, we lock the doors.
Yeah.
We sit down, we have a little meeting in the morning and we talk about our year that's been.
Yeah.
And so we start by each month and we'll go through, what did we do this month? What happened? And we revisit that whole month, what was going on then. And we'll go through it, we'll have some lunch, we'll have a couple of drinks, and we'll go through the whole year. And then we get to the end of it and we look at it and go, wow, how good are we? Like this is a great, and it's actually really nice. And I think for us now, that's a bigger buzz than anything now, when we can sit back and go, wow, we set out to achieve X, Y, and Z this year, and we did that plus a little more. Go us.
Yeah.
And alternatively, we can look back and say, you know what? Like, we're a bit off this year. We didn't quite hit that. And that's all right. But it's actually really nice to have that evaluation as a team, that it's not done like a work appraisal where you're shitting yourself and thinking, is a pay rise on the stake here or anything. It's just a straight out, honest discussion about, what our year was. And even if you don't enter the awards and stuff like that, I would highly recommend that everyone as a team or as people sit down and actually do that. And do it to the point where you're breaking it down every month rather than just because when you don't do that, you tend to just look at the last month or two of the things and you forget so much that you've done. And so I think that for us is I literally have a little calendar now of when little things, little aha or yay moments, and I go and write them into my calendar. So then when we go back at the end of the year, we go back and evaluate it, and I remember all these spots.
That's great. That's actually really good advice, because and the team like that. They like that input to know, that they've been part of that as well, I think. So it's good.
Yeah. I mean, most people that are working at that stage, I mean, they don't realize how much of an impact, and they don't realize how important they are.
Yeah.
I like to think that my team know they're important. Like it's something that I drill home to them that I can't do this without them. And so it's really important. I mean, it's nice to be wanted, and it's nice to be needed, and it's nice to be valued.
Yeah.
It really is. It's amazing. It's amazing how much just appreciation will drive someone.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's, we've all done it. We've all been an employee. And you and I, we run our own business, but so we know like what drives you and what keeps you happy and motivated is actually just being appreciated, being recognised, being valued. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And then the pay on top of that, but
yeah, the pay's always good. Well, it pays the bills, so yeah, exactly.
So, okay, who cuts Pete Walstab's hair?
Okay, so this is funny. I had a haircut yesterday.
Yeah,
and I cut it myself.
Oh, you've done
I literally cut it myself. I have. Because I'm literally like, I'm just going to get in there with a crock and I'm going to do it. But apart from that, there's a couple of people that I use. Ben Kane for me is one of my faves.
Yep.
Ben Kane is down in St Kilda there. He is pretty epic.
Yeah.
I tend to not be crazy loyal though. I tend to look at when I want a haircut, but then I always want to try new places.
You're a hair husband.
And it's not because and it's not because like I haven't found a great hairdresser.
Yeah.
It's more the fact that I like going to people I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'll go in there and most of the time they wouldn't even know who the hell I am. And it's just like go in there and get a haircut and actually feels what it's like to be a client, because for 40 years I never had that. Like literally sit down in between lunch breaks and stuff and get out and also if it's someone I know, it's kind of, I would get to the end of it and someone like, oh, I don't want to charge you. And I'm like, don't pay, charge me. Charge me and do it. And it is nice to go in there and just have a complete break.
Yeah.
From work talk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I went to, I think it was Bones Barbershop the time before. He just said, what do you do for work? And I'm like, I just, I buy something for $1 and sell it for $2. And he's like, okay. I'm like, pretty boring. And that was the end of the conversation. And I'm like, yes. And he sat there and talked about football to me. And I'm like, yeah, fantastic. This is great. This is what I want to do.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good PD anyway, like professional development, because it's kind of like gives you that insight into, into what salons are doing, what they're, for you, what they're using with their scissors and even just the customer service level, all that sort of thing. Like it'd be good. It'd be nice to pick your brains a little bit on the education side of that.
It did kill me. This guy actually wasn't using one of my scissors either. It did kill me. He had 3 scissors there, and one of them was ours, and he didn't pick up our one once the whole time. I'm like, oh, you're going to use it or what? Anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have given a bit of good advice to the industry. I was going to just ask, that was the last question, any advice you have for, for anyone in the industry that comes to mind? Two. One was my first boss who told me it.
And it was when you're green, you grow, and when you're ripe, you rot.
Yeah.
And I have lived by that one. I later found out at a later point he's sadly passed away at this stage, and I heard the quote again. So I started looking it up because I was going to get a tattoo of it.
Yeah.
And then I realized that that saying was something that was used by the guy. Remember that movie about the guy? The McDonald's movie came out.
Yeah.
The guy that ran the McDonald's. Well, he used that quote, and I was like, "Oh, what? He's just stolen it from him." But I mean, I guess that's the same with anything. It's always rehashed from someone else. But yeah, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you're ripe. For me, has been one that is great. But it's also, I think, one of the best things and best advice I have is, like, when people start out in hairdressing, I guess people just think, oh, it's going to be me sitting in four walls doing this and that's all there is to it. It's not. There's so many different avenues. There's education, there's products, there's wet products, there's so many different avenues. There's session styling, there's commercial, like there's just anything. And it's unlimited.
Mm.
And most people, I think, don't realize that. And I know I got to that stage in my life where I was like, I don't want to hairdress anymore. And that wasn't it. It was just that I didn't want to be in those four walls anymore.
Yeah.
And I needed to find a different avenue. So I think for people in the industry at the minute is, okay, if it just find something about it that you love and follow it. And don't be afraid to go out there and be a pioneer, because it's fun. When you're having fun, you'll make money.
Yeah.
You make money or you make wealth, and whatever wealth is to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Creating wealth is, whether a wealth of happiness, whether a wealthy bank account, whatever it is that actually makes you happy. You will never accumulate wealth without being happy, I don't think. And that was one thing I learned, even having a salon that made money, is I spent all that money because I was not happy and trying to make myself happy. So, yeah, the best advice I can have it to anyone out there is find stuff that makes you happy. Do what you love doing within it, and stick at it and work hard.
Yeah. Great. Good advice. Well, thank you so much.
The most serious I've ever been.
Yeah, it is. But, yeah, and you clearly, you love what you do. You can see that. So, do what you love, and you never work a day in your life. That's not my
exactly quote. That. I wish that was so fucking true, but it's so not, isn't it? It's find what you love and do it for the rest of your life, every fucking day. Yeah. But as long as you have fun doing it, that's the main thing.
Well, my quote's retirement is for people who don't like their jobs.
It's so true.
Well, maybe you got to say that at the moment, don't you? Because you have to have an working.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, anyway, but thank you so much, Pete, for your time. It's been fantastic chatting to you, and
an
really
absolute pleasure.
learning.
Thank you for asking me. That was fun.
Oh, it's good. I'd love to chat again a bit more, down the track. We'll see what Excellent Edges have been doing, and for the next
sounds good.
few years or coming year. And thanks so much.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see if I've gone bankrupt or something like that, or bought something else stupid.
I hope not.
No, I hope not to. Not to.
Definitely. Okay. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.